Hello there, Josh here. A preview of the two handicaps and market Rasen on Saturday, summer handicap hurdle. I have gone for mostly sunny of Dan Skelton. Hopefully, he can win the race for a second time each way, around 9 to 1, 8 to 1, 5 places. So that's mostly sunny in the 240 and the 315 Paris Encore for Nicky Richards, who won this back in 2004. I think about time he won it again. 10 to 1. Again, 5 places up for grabs, so I've gone each way, which is maybe a bit of a weak play on both, but given the nature of these races and with those extra places up for grabs, I thought it was probably wise. Where should I start quickly? My stats and trends over on the blog are always a guide for me in these big handicaps, especially if I bother to put the work in to find them. They've generally helped me out quite a lot, whether it's a short list, long list, or the trainers list, those that have won the race previously, who have runners in the race this year. And when I say previously, that's in the study period. So for this one, 16 years, which goes back in Horse Race Base and their trends research tools, which is what I use to dig all these stats out. And the winner often enough is within one of these two lists. Sometimes a complete blank and nowhere near, as was the case with the Bunbury Cup last week. The shortlist for the the John Smith's Cup helped land on the winner. So hopefully some of you landed on him. But in any case, yes. The first two stats in this race are pretty strong, actually, especially having, no horse in the last 16 years has had two or more handicap hurdle wins their name heading into this contest. Hopefully that holds up again, because it does remove a large chunk of the field. We will see if it does. Having never run in the race, and there's a couple of other pointers there. I've kind of focused on this on the short list here and the long list of 6, of which Dan Skelton horse sits there with the right profile, and he knows what it takes to win this race as well. 1 from 9, 4 places with his runners in it to date. And then the summer plate, a bit of a so-so one on the stats and trends in truth. In the sense that it only removes 5 or so of the runners. Some of the stats are so-so. So if you fancy a horse which doesn't appear on this list, don't be put off as such. But Paris Encore does nestle nicely in both of these. Generally has the right profile for this contest. So that was kind of my guide and starting point. I've worked through those long list, short list, trainer lists, and then I've gone back and worked through the race from scratch. I won't bore you to too much tears with all of that. As you'd expect in a race such as this, the internet experts only so helpful. They are competitive affairs, lots of green, lots of orange, everything is proven over the distance. There's a few that have ran at the track before, plenty that haven't, but that's been no barrier to success in this race in years gone by. Plenty lightly raced or that never won at the class and are proven in the class. So it is that sort of contest, as you would expect. You can obviously pause these videos and take a closer look at any that might jump out on that particular measure. If I look at handicap hurdles, or mostly sunny, is down here, and he hasn't got any experience in handicap hurdles in these conditions. This is only his second start in a handicap hurdle, so he's definitely unexposed, but I'll touch on that a bit more in a second. Again, there's lots of green. Ground conditions are pretty spot on for most. Class is a question for most in this as well. It looks an interesting contest, probably a bit mad for diving in. Pace is always interesting. You can come from wherever. You can come from wherever in any race, depending on how it sets up and how hard those at the front go, of course. This course and distance, this field size is usually pretty fair. I wouldn't mind if there's a bit of a strong pace on here. I'm not 100% sure there is going to be, but at least there may be some, and hopefully go off a bit too quick. I expect mostly Sunny to kind of track the pace, maybe mid-division. I wouldn't mind if Harry has him a bit closer, but he'll try and switch him off and try and settle him. He's to date he's been a very good jumper. Let's just touch on the horse a bit more. I like the fact he's unexposed. He's near the bottom of the weights. He hasn't had many goes in well, he's only had one go in handicap hurdles. Dan Skelton knows what it takes to win this. Could the yard be going a bit better? Possibly, but I'm not too put off. Percentage of rivals beaten's fine. They had a winner not too long ago, not in the last 14 days, but not long after that. Obviously, he does well at the course and with Harry. I suspect this has been a plan, and you'd like to think so. I think they obviously their big race. Dan Skelton's a very good big race target trainer, especially handicaps now, and kind of came into his own and at Cheltenham this year. Mostly sunny. If I just touch on him, he knows how to win. 5 from 23, 11 places. He has a touch of class. He was a decent flat horse, which I liked. He showed a bit of class. Obviously, it's hard to get a judgment on his class levels in handicap hurdles, though there's definitely more to come. But he was a decent, solid Class 2 horse in some good races, including in particular this Newcastle race, this York 16 furlong not beaten far fourth, beating 2.5 lengths off 80. He's definitely showed the class on the flat. And now we step into handicap hurdles. I just like his form. He's not been handicapped. He's been trying his best every run today. Decent ground is fine. Actually returns to quicker ground, and the last twice has been a bit of dig. He should be just fine. These races have been producing winners. By now, if you've watched any of these videos, I like the kind of hot form, or at least races to have produced subsequent winners. I've gone and watched this Southwell race back. He wins by 14 lengths. He wouldn't have won by 14 lengths if the Gary Moore horse had stood up. But the front two were miles clear. He cruised around here. He did take a keen hold. He's learning to get, his next flat horse. He's learning to kind of settle and drop his head a bit. But Indigo, I think he was going to beat him having watched it. Do go and watch it back yourself. He looked like he had him held and he sprinted away from the last. But Indigo is definitely going to run him down. I think it'd have beaten him 2 or 3 lengths. He was off 86 there. Obviously, it's a jump up in class here, but then he did hack up, so at least he's franked the form. Those two are going to be miles clear. He hacked up off 89 and looks a well handicapped sort. And then he ran at Uttoxeter, where he just got done on the line. He lost by a nose. Harry Skelton was probably a bit too patient. I looked at the sectional times actually at the races, and he ran the last 4 furlongs in a quicker time than Maxell. It's just Charlie Deutsch led for most of the race. He dictated a fairly slow tempo and then picked it up and then just maintained the gallop. Harry Skelton couldn't quite get there. He did press the winner. I'm not quite sure if he ever headed him. Not 100% sure he did. But they've both kept on. And the interesting thing there, obviously there's nothing out in behind as yet that's come to frank it. But Maxell himself came into this in fine form. He obviously reopposes here. He hacked up himself at Bangor in a race which has produced another winner as well as himself. He looked progressive, in form. He did dictate, and then he's come and won again off 114. So there's some substance there to the form. I mix in all that flat form, the trends, the fact that Yard know how to win this race. I thought he would sit in mid-division. He wouldn't mind. I think the stronger pace, the better for him. He's been a very slick jumper to date, a strong traveller, which I like around here. It's fairly sharp track, of course. There is a long enough straight to wind up and get going. But I think this could set up perfectly for him. He looks tailor-made from the bottom of the weights. I'm in no doubt there's a bit more to come. He did get put up £5 for not winning, but I'm still think he's well handicapped. Obviously on his flat mark and his flat efforts, he looks well handicapped as well. I'm not going to go into all the other horses in this. I wasn't taken with too much else, in fairness. Maxell should run well, but I wondered now, up another £6 if the handicapper should have him. I think the Skelton horse will have him in a more strongly run race, and if Harry gets after him a bit quicker, he's a bit too patient. Chaos Control arrives in form, but I've just got a question now up in the weights again, and just this class. The other one I did strongly consider was the David Pipe horse, who was short 6 to 1. not as good a flat horse as the Selection, and I I haven't been that taken with his jumping. He's been a bit ponderous at times, a bit guessy. He has hit the odd one. He hasn't necessarily looked a natural. I wonder if this 16 furlong around here, 17 furlong, might be sharp enough up in this class. Fosslas, he galloping track. They went really, really hard, really strong pace, and he stayed on well. He does need to jump better. That was my concern. If he puts in a very slick round, like he jumped the last at Fosslas, which was his best jump, he will go well. He is only 4. There's definitely more to come from him. He will be winning more handicaps. David Pipe is actually 0 from 16 in this race, and I suppose that also put me off a little bit as well. And Mostly Sunny was about 3 points bigger in the price. If I've got him wrong, so be it. I suppose those two, plus Chaos Control to some degree, but I was put off by the class and also wondered if he'd have the pace at this level over this course and distance. He won over it last time, but in a class 4, going a bit slower tempo. The other one, there's been some money for the Keatley horse as well. I suppose what I thought now was that he might want further than 16, 17 furlongs. I wondered if he'd have the pace. He clearly stays on the flat fairly well. I may have that wrong, but his last handicap hurdle win was around here, but over further, 2 mile 5, and I just wondered if he'd have the tactical speed late on. I could be wrong on that. Let me just quickly highlight some stats of interest. Only some for those of you like trainer jockey combos to note, whether you might want to note it for this race, but certainly moving forward. Henry Brook, when he rides for Adrian Keatley, 6 from 13, 9 places, plus 21 in the last year. So that's a booking to look out for. Robbie Llewellyn, I think Charlie Price is now his conditional, but in any case, in recent times, 6 from 18, 8 places. Robbie Llewellyn's done very well since he started his training career, so that's a little jockey combo to watch. He's still got his £3 claim, so that might be worth noting as well. Also, Mel Rowley and Charlie Deutsch, they've done very well, 11 from 53, 26 places in the last year. And if I just dive into handicaps with, so in GG's, just click on the trainer and click the jockey, which selects the jockey he's riding today. And in handicaps there, 32% strike rate, 11 from 34, 20 places, plus 33 SP. They've had bigger price winners over hurdles, so that's worth watching, especially when the winter season comes into gear. Obviously Charlie will be riding for his boss Venetia more, but if he's booked on Mel Rowley horses during the winter, that might be worth keeping an eye on as well. But plenty of running and plenty of runners, no doubt, from this team before Venetia's start coming out in October, November time. And the other one I will touch on is Stuart Edmonds, Charlie Hammond, trainer jockey, 1 year, 14 from 39, 23 places, plus 28. I may have missed the boat on all those trainer jockey combos I've just highlighted. But those are a handful that I would definitely keep an eye on. My job in these videos isn't to put you off any horses that you may like, so I will not be doing that. I've touched on the horses that kind of hit my shortlist and the reasons why I've gone with the Skelton horse and at the prices, and we will see if I am correct or not. Let's whittle on to the summer play. I've got a so-so record in this, I think. I haven't found as many winners as I'd quite like, so maybe that's an indication that I should have left this race well alone. But I have been lured in by Paris Encore. Let me just touch on the Instant Expert. As you'd expect, a fair bit of orange and green. If I click the places and all handicap chases, I move the class to kind of 1 to 2. And yeah, as you can see, pretty competitive stuff on that front. If I put it down to the class 1 to 3, there's so much green. The distance, 2 mile 4 to 2 mile 6. So if I just put 2 mile 6, again you can see there some proven over the distance, some unexposed, of which Paris Encore is, and I'm hoping he's going to improve for it. Of course there's a chance he may not stay, but we will see. I think he will, and I think he'll relish it. That's what I'm banking on anyway. But yeah, plenty of green there, as you'd expect these kind of competitive class 2, class 1 handicaps, whether on the flat or over jumps, they're generally competitive affairs in terms of horses proven in conditions and still open to improvement. That's kind of one of the reasons why I like the big race trends approach to help me narrow down the field, because the similar kind of profiles do win these races year after year, or certainly get competitive. The other thing that interests me about Paris Encore, before I dive into him in a bit more depth, is again, you can come from further back in these conditions, big field, but being prominent and leading is generally a bit of an advantage. And I didn't think there'd be loads of pace on paper on this. Dinons might go forward. He's an 11-year-old. While I see Portsevo, if he's got the class to get away, Fixall. Molecourt, I expect, will press actually because he stays further. So there could be 2 or 3 that go on. I'm hoping Paris Encore just sits behind them and up in trip over what might be a slightly slower tempo. He can hold a prominent position. If he ends up further back, then that's that theory out the window, of course. But fingers crossed, I thought he would be in the right place. Horses being more patiently ridden was kind of one of the reasons to, I suppose, question or not be put off. But some of these, especially the Skelton horses, who's been hammered into 5-1, usually held up, mainly because he's a bit buzzy and a bit keen, but he's always dropped in. Maybe Harry will actually now push him further forward. He'd probably be wise to, but he might be scared he's going to light him up a bit more. He looks short now, missed the price, but yeah, he might have more horse in front than behind, as will a few of these in this chunk here. But yeah, Paris Encore, I like that track position. If I just look on the horse, obviously, like I said, he hits some of my trends. Nicky Richards does very well with last time out winners. 21 from 76, 33 places, plus 27. That's one of those micro angles that's worth noting down if you like such things. If you've got system building software, whether in the GG's query tool or horse race base, the kind of angle you may wish to save. And yeah, he does very well at Market Rasen as well. Doesn't come this far down too often, but has a pretty decent record. And if I dive into it a bit more in the last 5 years, you can see here, and if I just click on handicaps, 9 from 35, 13 places in the last 5 years, 2 from 2 in handicap chases, and in the last 2 years, 6 from 29 places. Again, that's the kind of micro angle that might not be a bad one, worth noting down either. Nicky Richards, Market Rasen handicaps, pretty good there. And yeah, Danny McMenan, not so good as yet, but he's only had 6 rides. He's been getting better all the time. In fairness, most of them have been sent off at a fairly big price. But he himself rides this track now, and he's now pretty much stable number 1, I think. And is developing it into a fine jockey. But yeah, he does okay at the track, so no issues there. And the trainer's actually in decent form, Nicky Richards. He wouldn't have a big string over the summer, but 1 from 7 3 places the last 14 days. And again, the last 30, 60% of rivals beat and 63% last 30 days is solid enough. Again, some great stuff, stats down here. I mean, the last 2 years, 26% strike rate with all chasers. He's just a mad chase trainer. He's one of the best in the country and on the Isles. And yeah, it just superb trainer all round. So hopefully Paris Encore can add to those stats. What do I like about him? Well, he does have a bit of class. He knows how to win. He's consistent. Yeah, he's a bit of a slow burner, and Nicky Richards likes to take his time with these chasers. I'm hoping now, aged 8, this is where he's going to peak. He was highly tried over hurdles at time, over 16 furlongs. He saved stepping him up in trip. He never bothered doing it over hurdles, even though it was quite evident that to my eyes, that he'd want it. But he saved that stepping up in trip for chasing, no doubt therefore keeping a bit in hand from the handicapper. Clever Nicky, but he's used those 2 miles to teach him how to race, to teach him how to settle off a strong pace. But he's got some fine efforts. He was able to win. He'd often get outpaced and then stay on, as he did in this Musselburgh Class 2. That race worked out okay. Upper Air in the decent handicap hurdle there, the end of season finale. He cruised around there, but then just got tapped for toe, outpaced, but he stayed on all right in 4th. Again, that race has not worked out too badly. I don't know what happened to Haydock, maybe injured himself, had 175 days off. Back at Air, he actually went in the notebook in this chase here. That's worked out fairly well. That was 2 miles. it was 2 miles on Chase debut. He jumped pretty well. It was his first run since May. He actually shaped as if he may come on for it a bit as well. Marble Sands, 3 starts later, would hack up off a mark of 141, producing an RPR 151. And then which was a fairly decent performance. And then the Lucinda Russell horse here, 2 from 4, 3 places since. So he split those two, then hacked up 120, a bit softer ground, hacked up again 128, 138, came second in a solid race at Ayr as well. So that was decent form, and even Chasing Fire a bit further back would eventually go in off 134. So this was a decent race for the grade, for the course. All unexposed chasers, all the top 4 have gone on and done something, all well handicapped at the time, and I just thought that was a classy performance. Actually, he travelled around really well, first run of the season, first chase start, and he's just built on it. Doncaster, fine run again. All these races have been producing subsequent winners. Again, bit outpaced, but raced prominently, jumped well, stayed on. Musselbury was back over hurdles in the February. That didn't go to plan. He then had a break, ran at Kelso as if he may have needed it. He took a bit of a keen hold. He led. They were quite aggressive. Again, maybe not the pace to get away from them, but I think hopefully he needed it. And then he did on his second start after that break in June. He has travelled around like a dream, jumped really well. The horse he beat in second came into it off the back of a win, and was kind of in good form himself. They haven't gone overly quick there. It was good to firm ground. This could be fairly quick as well, given the weather forecast. And he's travelled round well. He's hit the front, going best 2 out, and he's 1 going away. He's got a bit, well, not outpaced again, but the jockey's got stuck in. He's doing all of his best work late. That was under 11 stone 11, pulling away from the field. That was over 2 mile, 4.5 furlongs. I thought over what is an extra kind of 1.5 furlongs, nearly 2 actually with rail movements, that was a reason for further improvement. He's unexposed. There's no doubt more to come as a chaser. 1 from 4, 3 places. And there's more to come as a handicapper. I like that kind of profile. Generally, doesn't always come to the fore in this sort of race, of course. But I thought, he ticked a lot of boxes for me. Hit my trends as a way in. The pace maps should be in the right place. The yard form, the yard record at the course in handicaps, the horse's profile, unexposed, more to come. Some decent form. Horses that ran at Perth last time out have a good record coming into this race, as do horses that won last time out. I just thought he's going to be in the right spot to pounce, and we'll see what he does from 3 out and 2 out. I hope he's going to stay and just keep galloping. Hopefully he's in a good enough spot. If he doesn't quite see the trip out, he will cling on into the top 5, but I hope he's going to relish it. I thought he shaped that way visually, to my eyes anyway, at Perth last time out. So he was the one for me. It's obviously, there are so many horses coming into this in form. You only need to look at the last time out winners, horses that were second last time out. There's a few older horses, but none of the others could tempt me in, really. I thought the handicapper might have hold of some of them. I thought there was a class question over others. I can see the Skelton horse going well, but at 5-1, I didn't like the fact that he's normally held up. His jumping in this big field might be a question also for me, potentially. I could be wrong there. In any case, I thought the Richards horse at what was 10-1 looks far overpriced. Looks too big to my eyes, and we will see what the market does as this race looms into view. And I will stop talking there because I've been going on for 24 minutes, although I should just say, what did I want to touch on? Like I did with the last race, the Bowen team, Peter and his son, and Sean on, one of his other sons, on the joint license. Sean on, I mean, they're in great form. 3 from 11, 6 places the yard. Trainer jockey 1 year, obviously 11 from 47, and trainer jockey in the last 14 days and 30 days. They're obviously firing on all cylinders. So do keep Team Bowen in mind more generally. And what else do I want to highlight? I think that was nearly it. Jed O'Keefe and Charlie Hammond. Charlie wouldn't ride for Jed too often, but 4 from 11, 7 places. So that's another little micro angle that you may wish to keep an eye on, a trainer jockey combo. And yeah, I think that is it. But with that said, I will shut up as I tick round to 25 minutes. Another short video, but hopefully you found it interesting, informative. Thanks for getting this far. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Best of luck with your wagers and if following me in. But for now, this is Josh saying have a great weekend and speak soon.